Welcome back to DXB Today. Now, if you are starting a startup or thinking about it, we are sat here with the people you definitely want to know, and we are ready to meet our next guest. He is from AngelSpark, a community of builders, investors, and all-round great guys, supporting founders around the world and right here in the UAE. Please join us in welcoming to the show Prashant Gulati, aka PK. PK, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you and I met at GITEX, and you told me something quite interesting, is that you actually announced the starting of AngelSpark at the GITEX North Star over by Dubai Harbour. Tell us, how's it been going? First of all, what is AngelSpark for anyone that might not know, and how has it been over the past couple of years?
Well, AngelSpark is probably the youngest angel group we have here. And the idea was to bring together people who want to support startups, invest in startups, build startups, to come together with people who are the founders of startups. I've been here for a very long time investing in startups. I realize a lot of people want to invest in them, probably bring a substantial amount of value besides the money on the table, but they don't know how to do that. So we launched AngelSpark in 2003 in GITEX in North Star. And when we met in 2004, a year later, we had already invested in 11 startups. And now the number stands at probably 15. So we meet every month and look at least 3 startups. And we end up giving them the answer that particular day, yes or no. And what comes with that is actually the time and the domain knowledge of all the people who form that community. So that's how we're different.
I've seen it happen. I saw it at GITEX. We had a startup competition, and you were like, we want you to be our next company under our wing.
Because the biggest problem that we found was most people would go and pitch to startups, and I'm sure everybody's seen it, the ghosting that happens. Nobody answers your calls, nobody answers your emails, and say, oh, we loved your idea, but we'll come back to you.
Always we'll come back to you, never
That's
come
true.
back to you at all.
And so we wanted to actually stop that.
So speaking of ghosting, would you say that your role is like a matchmaker over here, where you connect the right person with the right people? And if so, how do you go about choosing these people?
So it is matchmaking to a certain extent, yeah, you're right, but it's more than that. So what we do is we actually look at probably 200 startups pitches every month. The biggest thing is the people who are putting the money are actually selecting the startups. So we don't have employees going through that, or we don't look at this from investment only point of view. We look at it from a point of view of as much education of the investor itself, like people actually take part in the process of the selection. And when they come and pitch, we spend time with them, and then once we decide to invest in a company, we also go to the next level of actually creating a group of the people who are from the investors who come from the similar domain or know more about it, or can connect them to more, for example, customers or areas which could be beneficial for them, actually put that together. And that continues for the life of the startup.
PK, I remember 5 years ago when I came here, there was very little angel funding. This was a massive, I guess, dearth in the funding ecosystem, that, and I guess still to this day, like Series B+, late stage and early stage. So how have you seen the evolvement of the angel phase in startup fundraising? And do you find that it's become a real asset class that retail investors are looking at? I think that you used to just say, oh, people would say they're interested in VC and then they go invest in real estate, right? So do you find that this is like becoming more feasible for investors?
So the first thing I'll say is there's not enough angel investing. I would always say that with the depth of the ecosystem that Dubai is, or the region is getting now, we need far more such angel investors groups which would come forward and invest. Now, I'm not very sure if it becoming a class is a great idea, because people need to understand the risks that they're taking. This is one of the most risky investment classes. So I would believe that people who understand or can afford to take that risk should invest in that. But at the same time, we do have a pretty substantial number of those people in this part of the world. The only problem is they don't know how to first access or go through, or what is good for them. So they need a part of education. So one of the biggest things that we did, I was a part of an earlier angel group called Dubai Angel Investors. Before that, we had some informal angel groups with Thai in places. All the places, one of the biggest reasons for us to put that together was equally to educate the investors, for them to come forward, to bring it as close to a class it would be. So that would be, and by the way, if there's no angel investing or early stage investing, there's no other classes. There's no A, B, C, and D to talk about. So we need to have a lot of angel or early stage activity for them to survive to go to the A, B, C, and D level. And that is what I believe we contribute to.
I wanted to ask you about how this question can be for the both of you. I wanted to ask, how can a person maintain that trust with the investors that are starting with the startups? Because I think it's very hard for them, for some startups, to maintain that relationship with the investors, and they can just bail out and be like, you know what, they cut off funding.
If I can answer this?
Yes, please.
There's a saying that you cannot dig a well the day you have a fire.
Yeah.
And I think a relationship starts far before you actually start raising. Your first angel investors tend to be people who know you.
Yeah.
Those are people who have either worked with you, your former teacher, your former boss, or somebody you actually did some project with.
Your dad.
Possibly. And the whole idea for that is those people know you more than the pitch deck that you're putting forward. And that is where you get the first champions. And these first champions get their friends together. And that's how we always say angel investors, they hunt in packs.
Yeah.
So one will find it, the rest follow, the same story. So you find this one champion who knows you, who, as you said, has a relationship with you, and the relationship usually predates the pitch. If people are coming and looking at your pitch and investing, they tend to be far more tactical financial investors rather than deeper mentoring kind of investors.
Okay. So you guys are not going to go anywhere. We're still going to be talking a lot about investing.